There's a very famous say out there, and it says, if you cannot explain it in simple terms, it means you don't understand it well enough. Now, I'm doing this even though I might get some heat, but it's fine, because we have so many new community members that are asking about elephant money and how things work, why the chart keeps going up, etc., etc. And this video is service to that. So at the end of the day, no matter the long ass messages that you go and check on their Telegram, the complicated Excel sheets, it all boils down to demand and supply. So here is the simple ins and outs of elephant money. Full disclosure, let me preface all of this by saying that I'm not fighting, I'm not talking nonsense, nor am I being subjective here. I'm just gonna say things as they are, alright? Because, like I said, it all boils down to ins, outs, demands, and supply, alright? So I think last time I covered this I spoke about the reasoning, or let's just call it the illogical approach behind releasing those NFTs and why for me they're not a good investment vehicle. So that was the previous one. And yeah, there are so many people who came back and said yada yada yada, this is nonsense, etc., which is fine. I mean, we're used to calls being cults, but at the end of the day, I do own elephant money, and I do think it's gonna keep going up for the time being because the momentum is there, alright? But that's not what we're talking about here. So today, let's, recap all of the things around the elephant token and why is it going up to begin with, right? So why is this happening? So to understand this, let's go back to the core. Let's go back to the center of all of this, aka the treasury. So Bertha, the center of operations, the center that is fueling all of this. Now, to understand why Bertha is growing that much, it's because you have several platforms or several ways to pump it. So you have the buy with Bertha, buy whatever, BWB, meaning if you buy it through the website, the majority of the taxes, they go to the elephant treasury. You have the trunk mids, even though those are not, viable anymore, they don't really matter at this point. But you have the two major elephant money pumpage processes, let's call them that. You have one, the NFTs. So every purchase of NFT buys elephant and puts it in the treasury, and you have 90% of all futures money that goes into the treasury. And this is where most of the money is coming from. So Bertha is being fed by all of these outlets, and then Bertha in return will give money back when the time is due to futures participant, to NFT holders. It kind of does right now anyways, because it gives 1% of its APR to the NFT stakers, and hopefully we'll be seeing that soon. It's gonna aid and abate in the trunk redemption, so pushing back trunk to $1. Now all of this is cool and all. So the status today is that the treasury is in a healthy state. Now, of course, I'm not talking about elephant money holders, because that's a token that is being traded. So you're not expecting to buy the token and everyone to be in profit, right? It's a token, it's a coin. So at the end of the day, when you trade it, people who bought earlier than you are gonna be in profit, while you won't be. All right, so that's the side. Let's talk about what they describe as the cash flow engine, because that's what they label elephant money as. Remember, elephant money doesn't have any source of revenue other than the money that people are willing to put in it. Either be it via futures, either be it via buying the elephant token or buying those NFTs, or even entering Stampede at this point. So that's how it works, all right? So mainly, like I said, it all relies on constant buy pressure to the elephant token coming from somewhere. And that's why, unfortunately, that demand has to be artificially pumped. Like I said, through NFTs, Stampede, futures. So there will always be something, and that's what I expect, coming to pump, you know, the buy pressure, and to put that buy pressure and to keep it in store. And if you put more buy pressure in, then that chart will appear on DEX tools and other outlets, and people will look at it, it will become trending, and then more people will enter. All right, so if you think about it though, at the end of the day, it's all a closed loop. Like I said, I'm not gonna give it another name that people don't like to call it that, but let's just call it a closed loop, because people buy NFTs and invest into futures. But let's just focus on NFTs. People buy NFTs and then they put that money into adding buy pressure to the elephant token, increasing its price, because they hope that the elephant token will keep on doing so, so it rewards them back at some point. So at the end of the day, you buy those NFTs hoping that the price of the token keeps rising for that 1% APR to reward you back, and then some. And just as a reference, 12.5 million buy pressure came from NFTs and futures participants. So right now the treasury sits at about 62 million something. So let's, for the sake of simplicity, remove 12.5, that's 50 million. So approximately a bit more than 1/6 of the treasury came from those outlets and not natural buy pressure. And here's why, like I said, the cash flow engine between quotation mark is still healthy, you know, from that perspective, because obligations are way behind assets right now. And just to look at a few stats, for example, only about 4% of the minted amount that was given to the treasury has been paid back so far in elephant money tokens. Sorry. And about 12% is the ratio of withdrawals over deposits in the futures platform. So yeah, there's about 15.5 or 15.6 million in obligations right now. So that amount grew from 11.3 million because of the compounds, even though you're adding 200 BUSD. But think about it though. So you can wait 3 months, and then in those 3 months, let's say you accumulated, I don't know, 5k BUSD. So you just pay 200 BUSD to add to your available or to your claimable amount 5,000 BUSD. So at the end of the day, you're adding 4.8k in obligations just by doing nothing and by waiting. And then let's not forget Trunk, that is 84% below its spec. So conclusion here, right now things are looking okay because the buffer pool of futures, which holds 10% of the value invested, can still meet those obligations, and it's acting as an ROI DApp from that perspective, which is the case. I mean, it is an ROI DApp. But then the question is, what will happen once the buy pressure of the elephant token starts to diminish and futures obligations increase to a point where the buffer pool can no longer hold them? Trunk gets back to peg, and NFT stakers stop rolling that money in because NFTs are getting expensive. So what happens then? So the outcome, unfortunately, would be that the treasury will start to decrease. And by doing so, you have a combination of two factors here. You have the treasury and the liquidity. So if you don't want to sell elephant money tokens, you have to sell the liquidity, which is BNB and BUSD. So you either decrease the liquidity, or you have to sell elephant money, or you have to do a bit of both, which is most likely the case. And then by doing so, if you add sell pressure with low buy pressure, and then the big boys who are in profit decide, okay, the ship is turning, let's exit, then you have a cascading effect. So for me, personally, the only thing that could salvage the situation overall, I'm not talking about short term, I'm talking about long term, is either using that money in the treasury and that extra liquidity to get more money somewhere else in real DeFi, or that's long term, of course. But short term, all they can do is perhaps after the buy pressure from NFTs slows down, or even futures, perhaps they're gonna add some additional thing to fuel that buy pressure again. So overall, I think right now, elephant money is not a bad buy, all right? So there is momentum. The token will most probably keep rising in price for the time being. However, keep an eye on those stats. Keep an eye on how these obligations will grow and when things will start to look unhealthy in regards to the simple equation of assets versus obligations. All right. So here's my take on it. I'm just saying things as they are. Again, I'm not trying to FUD anyone's bags. I'm just saying things as they are, and I'm gonna ride the momentum personally. All right. So I'm here like everybody else, invested in the token, and I'm gonna see what comes up next. All right. So just keep an eye on these things, and hopefully this was indeed an oversimplification of the whole ecosystem of elephant money. All right. So I honestly hope I brought you some value with this, and DeFi Ascension is there. Honestly, like, this group keeps on growing. It's filled with cool people, mature investors, like-minded individuals, and we also talk about so many things, our bread and butter, crypto and DeFi, and good stuff. So good stuff, that's the majority of it, but there's also lots of degen stuff, because let's face it, in this industry there will always be degen related protocols. And with that, see you in the next one. Have a good one.